is Hard Parking, sponsored by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Just got back from another trip. I think I'm done traveling for the year. Just thinking about going to the Purist Group Toy Drive, which is coming up. It's actually this Sunday, so this is Thanksgiving week. I don't think I'm going to go, though. I get invited every year, but it's always in California. Of course, that's where Purist Group is, but before we get to the contents of this episode, which, by the way, is Mr. Jasser Valerio of NASCAR. Got him on, had a great conversation. You're going to want to hear it. It's really good, insightful. It's a great guy. Fantastic guy. Comes from my NSX connection. You know, cars just bring us together. We say that every week almost. Special shout out to the Northwestern NSX Owners Group. So I just got back from Seattle. Well, you know, before any of that, in the last episode, I was talking about the Trader Joe's little ice cream thingies, the ice cream drumsticks is what I'm calling them. And I think I was misunderstood. I don't dislike those, and I don't dislike Trader Joe's. I'm just saying you Trader Joe's people are crazy. Those are delicious. It's just too bad they're so fucking little. So I got a lot of feedback on the Trader Joe's. And no one was like, I can't believe you don't like Trader Joe's, but everyone... I got photos sent to me of the box of these little things in someone's freezer. Yasu from Japan. There you go, Yasu. You hear your name. You are being acknowledged. He sent me a couple emails in the past. I usually respond, but the last couple he sent me, I think just crazy traveling. But you know, they love it. When they travel from Japan to California, wife loads a suitcase full of Trader Joe stuff. Probably not the ice cream. Wouldn't make much sense. But yeah, Trader Joe's. Don't dislike it. I'm just saying you Trader Joe's people are freaking weird. So I do polls on my Hard Parking or my Instagram, the Jhae Finning Instagram, but there's a Hard Parking channel. You can see the link to it in my bio. Not a lot of members, but enough, I guess. But I do these silly polls, things I think of. One of them was hot dogs because my mother-in-law bought, she likes to eat hot dogs. I like to eat hot dogs once every blue moon. And when she makes them for you, she always boils them. Now, I was raised in a hot dog house. I was raised with a microwave. I'm used to just grabbing, if I want a hot dog, I would just I'll take it out of the package, put it on a napkin, maybe put it on a plate, throw it in the microwave, 25, 30 seconds, take it out. I'll either eat it like that, or I will put it on a plate with a little mustard, sometimes ketchup, but usually just mustard, sometimes a slice of cheese, and I would just chop it up and eat it. Like that was my snack. My quick snack all throughout high school, all throughout middle school, all throughout life. So the poll was basically, what do you do if you want a hot dog as a quick meal at home? And it's cold, so assume you have to heat it up. And grilled came back by far as the most popular answer. So you guys, grilled was number one, microwave was a distant second, air fryer just behind microwave, and I threw boiled out there as the fourth most selected one. Now, I don't know if people have actually done this, but I would always prefer a grilled hot dog over anything. Grilled hot dog or a slow cooked hot dog, I guess, if you get it from the gas station. Yes, I've done that before. Or if you get it from like a theme park or something. It's either grilled or it's on that little it's on that little roaster for like hours before you get it. That's always my preference. But if I'm at home and I want a quick snack, that thing's going to go in a microwave 10 times out of 10 if I'm responsible for heating it up. My mother-in-law likes to boil them, which I think takes way too much time. I'd argue you boil some of the flavor out of the hot dog. Probably a ridiculous argument. And I tried to put it in an air fryer once just to see what it's like. Takes way too long. The center of the hot dog is still cold. The outside is burnt. 30 seconds. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to start the grill to throw a fucking hot dog on the grill. You guys better not be using charcoal because now you're waiting an hour for a hot dog. Moving on. Ramen noodle time. It's the only poll I had up there this time. So pay attention to those if you follow me on social media. Follow me on Instagram. Go to the channel. Also, lots of giveaways. So if you're listening to this, send me an email, DM me on social media, and I will give you, well, everyone's going to get one, but this is how I kind of know, right? Patreons obviously are going to be taken care of, but I have special holiday coasters. A little logo on there. Got a little Santa hat on my logo. Christmas wreath, snow globe, the holiday coasters. The holiday coasters are here. So what happened was, every Wednesday, I tried to do One Drink Wednesday with Wes, and I screwed up booking the flights. I actually booked the flight on Wednesday, and I meant to book it on Thursday. So my wife booked hers on Thursday because a few days before I said, hey, honey, what day are we going to Seattle again? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? She goes, it's Thursday. I'm looking at my reservation. It says Thursday. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But then 2 days before I look at my phone, I'm like, oh, I'm leaving Wednesday. Oops. So I had to have her change her flight to match mine because she's going for work. And I was just going, it's one of those things like, hey, I'm going to Seattle. You want to go? I was like, sure. We got friends up there, Alex and Jen. Spent great times with them this weekend. So we get to the airport, and I said, we should try to get there early. We have these two United, I'm going to bitch about this right now. We have these two United Club passes. If you guys have ever gone to an airport lounge before, they're very nice. They have snacks, they have house beer, they have house wine, and recliners, and power, and you can just chill there all day if you really want to. You don't have to do the normal, go to the airport and sit in the crappy gate, order the expensive food. If you want a bottle of water, go pay $5 for water. You just go into the club and you can do whatever you want in there. So we have a United Airlines credit card, like a Chase World Explorer card. I've had this card for years. So every year we get 2 free United Club passes, which we never use. We don't fly United that much. But what these passes are, so we flew Alaskan, so we went the same terminal. So we went there a couple hours early to Phoenix Sky Harbor. We go on to use the passes. They scan the pass. They go, okay, now scan your boarding pass. We're like, oh, we're not flying United today. Well, I'm sorry, you have to be flying United to use the United Club Pass. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue with the guy. Like, why would I? It's not his job. He doesn't make the rules. But it's a dumb rule. And I think anyone listening to this could understand why that's a dumb rule. Because we have the credit card that doesn't say you must use this credit card on flights, and if so, you're going to get club passes. It just says, here's your free club passes to a year for using your credit card. But you can't redeem your club passes unless you're flying United. It's dumb. I've never seen that before in the past, ever. Because I have flown United, and I have gone in the club before years ago, and I've gone into the American Airlines lounge when I had the Admirals Club membership, and I didn't have to fly American. I would just scan the Admirals Club pass, and that's that, I think. I don't know, but it's a dumb rule. I think you all can agree that's a dumb rule. The Uber that we took to the airport was a Rivian. It was a Rivian truck. Times are changing, guys. Like a year ago, you started seeing Teslas start to pick people up for Uber, and now a Rivian truck picked us up. Kind of neat. He had a lot of miles on it. He said the crappiest thing about the car is he goes through tires like no one's like crazy. Why is he going through tires? Because the truck weighs so much, he blows through tires just on the sheer weight of the truck. That's crazy. I would never in a million years would have thought about that. I think I'll recap the rest of the trip on the Patreon. Again, not to just push you guys to that, because those of you who are going to pay for that are already paying for it. And those of you who aren't are never going to pay for it. But I want to get to this interview with Jasser Valerio right after this word from 4 Wheel Online. Also, it is Thanksgiving this week, so happy Thanksgiving to those of you who do celebrate that. We celebrate it. I always get stuck cooking the turkey. I used to do a special Thanksgiving episode. No one downloads it, so you're not getting that either. Jhae Finning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4 Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. The truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitters today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4 Wheel Online. Mr. Jasser Valerio, welcome to Hard Parking, the Senior Event Network Engineer, NASCAR official. This is your first time on the podcast, man. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep, first time. Appreciate you having me. First podcast ever as well.
Nice. I've broken your podcast cherry. I don't know if people are still
Yep.
saying that these days.
I think so.
You got some aging kids. My kids are much older, so you should know what all the hip terms are. Or maybe you're not allowed to say them because these kids think they made up everything. And I think there's a part of our lives where we thought we might have kind of made up everything, but
Yep.
then our elders were saying most of those things anyway.
Before that, and then I think too, they also think we're somewhat disconnected on things.
Oh, yeah, we have no
So,
clue, right?
yep.
So a couple weeks ago, and I've talked about this before on the podcast a little bit, and I didn't go into as much depth as I wanted to because I knew that we had talked about having you come on and kind of explain more in depth of what you do for
Mhm.
NASCAR, and kind of I describe it as take your buddy to work day, which was one of the most awesome experiences I think I've ever had, honestly. So what do you do for NASCAR?
So our group is comprised of the event network team as well as IT all together as a whole. So we have IT that manages corporate side of things as well as IT that manages the track side and venue side. Me specifically, in charge of the Mid-Atlantic region of tracks, so taking care of their network infrastructure during an event, outside of race weekends, and in conjunction with our network team as well. Anything that the tracks need, like you saw during an event, usually by Sunday, if things are settled down, you get the time to walk around, show people around. But if something goes on, then we can be running all over the place. Next, have you have come out again? There's a few other places that I'd love to show you that'll kind of click the whole picture together as far as everything on the technology side as what it encompasses. But in layman's terms, like one of those jack of all trades, master at
Right.
none at the track when it comes to technology.
So the group that you introduced me to were chilling in the trailer. Are you
Yep.
guys all like equals? Is one of them like the team lead? Are you essentially the team lead? Because you seemed everybody kind of knew who you were because you've been doing this for a while. And we'll talk about that.
Well, let's see here. One of the guys, two of the guys in there were the media engineers. So they manage more of the team Ethernet, team internet aspect of it that I was telling you about.
And team, as in the race car teams.
Yes, yes. So race car teams, the organizations, all that. Our group is unique in the fact that we essentially know everybody's job and role and what we can do so we can support each other on any given level to a certain extent.
Nice, some redundancy just in case someone's
Yep.
out or someone's busy.
Especially traveling, like someone has a family emergency that comes up or gets sick or anything like that, we can all kind of essentially fill in. Outside of those, then we have there's a couple of guys that were just infield only. So they're taking care of NASCAR's competition side of it, which is where they're taking care of all the needs, technology needs as far as in the infield. So any employees that work specifically at the track, any employees that are come from an office to the track and visit, and any of the buildings and areas that we cover inside.
So explain for people what you mean by infield. I'm assuming there's infield and then there's outfield.
Well, infield and the venue side. Infield, but essentially, as soon as you drive into the track, and there's the garage area.
Mm-hmm.
During a race weekend, you'll have up to 4 series racing, and there's 3 national series. Depending on the weekend, you could be supporting the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, or the Truck Series, as well as ARCA, which is one of the other series that's national as well, but not the top 3. If any of those series, especially the Cup Series, are there, you were there from garage open to garage end as far as any needs that come in. Biggest portion of that is making sure that inspection goes off. Once the teams come in, let's say the Cup garage is going to be open, the garage opens, they unload the cars, and those cars will go through an inspection process throughout the day. We provide connectivity and internet at those specific stations so that the officials can inspect the cars and all the data that's coming off those cars at different inspection points can be monitored live, but anybody within NASCAR, as far as on the officiating side, can see where a car is at during that process.
So even though there's multiple series, or there could be multiple series, I think what were there, like 3 or 4 when you guys are out here?
Yeah, there was 4 series during the Phoenix weekend because there's championship level for all of them.
So for what you and your team do, it doesn't really matter what the series is. The job is still the same, right?
Yes, except for the ARCA series. We don't provide them as much infrastructure and therefore not as much support, but we're still there if need be.
Now, okay, so I'm going to ask you this. How did you get into this? Tell the listeners your origin story, as you kind of told me at the track when we were kind of walking and looking very important.
So before I got into NASCAR, worked at a university up in Maine. My wife is from up there. So I did IT as well up there at the university on a corporate university corporate level, kind of more as on a desktop support. So level 2, like most IT people would call it. Sure, and also being in that role, I knew a lot of the people in the university, and one of the president's assistant bought a house down in Florida, offered us as a little vacation spot down there, which we decided to take a vacation, went to Florida. My wife liked it and kind of put the bug in our ear, like, hey, let's move down there.
That works.
Yep. So, it worked. It kind of gave my wife a little different outlook, like, hey, because she's always been in Maine, and that's where her family was from. So she didn't want to leave that. Spent about a year just trying to plan it out, looking for places down there, job, all that, and it landed on like I told you, a startup telecom company out of Dominican Republic. So decided to leave my job, start down there. The house that the president's assistant bought was across the street from her brother and sister-in-law. So they were gracious enough to, hey, you're coming down here to start this job. We don't mind for a few days, a week or so for the transition. Like, come on down and, we'll take you in.
Right.
And got down there, and they decided, once to meet with them, they decided to tell me they wanted to go a different direction, that they didn't need me. So I was kind of left out in the open, no job, no place to live, because I left we were living in a townhome at the time.
And this was down in the DR?
Well, they were out of DR, starting up in a company up in Palm Coast, Florida.
Okay. All right. I was like, damn, you had to go to the Dominican Republic just to not have a job?
Yeah.
Shit.
No. Yeah, so, got down there, was, left with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The president's assistant's brother and sister-in-law were gracious enough to kind of take me in. It's like, hey, look, you came down here, let's see, and see where it goes. And just honestly, for a couple months, just did odd jobs and, contract jobs all over the place. And one day I woke up to an email from a headhunter. Emailed him, called him up the next day, met with them, and just had an interview, which was very generic because I didn't know who they were interviewing for. So at the end of it, I just asked them a question like, hey, who are you trying to fill this position with? Oh, and they're like, NASCAR. And I'm like, NASCAR? Are you serious? And I remember going down to Daytona Beach and driving by the track and taking pictures and like sending it to my friends. And they're like, hey, you should get a job there. And I'm like, just brushed it off. So
now hold on. Before we continue, let's go back to you showing up for a job and they decided to go to a different direction. Like, what's your mindset like? Do you remember?
Oh man, I was just like, when you have something planned and like, it was, hey, look, starting, like, we decided to like take this leap of faith and, hey, let's move to a spot that we've never lived in, never been, don't really know anybody. Left my job, left the place we were living. My family's with the in-laws at that point, and get down there, and it's like just the rug pulled out from underneath you. So it was one of those like,
Then you got a family and all that shit.
Yep. So like, do I tuck my tail between my legs and try to go back and ask for my job back, or it's like, so it's just a rough spot. Luckily I just decided to stay down there, and I was away from them for about 2.5 months before I actually started my first day with NASCAR. And then afterwards they came down, but it was a interesting time to say the least.
So you definitely weren't doing what you're doing now. So I interrupted you. Now we'll fast forward to, you find out you're going to be working potentially for NASCAR, because I don't.
Yep.
How did that go down?
Well, so after the interview with the headhunters, I met with NASCAR themselves, had an interview, and everything went well. And then afterwards, I didn't hear anything back. It was just like complete silence. So in that meantime, I was trying to get into the school system up in Palm Coast where we were living, and had a interview as a network engineer position that I wanted to get into. They went through that process. They ended up offering me the position, and I just during that time I was like, hey, let me call NASCAR, and I have this offer. Like, I had this interview with them. Let me call them and see where they're at. So they gave me a couple of days, and I called NASCAR. I'm like, hey, look, I just got this position offered. I'd really like to, work for you guys. What do you say? So they called me in, and I met with, at that time, was the head of the IT department, and just had a quick informal interview. And the next day they offered me the position. And that position of starting at NASCAR was a very entry-level position at the service desk. Just level 1, answering phone calls, remoting into people's computers, behind the desk, just, plugging away from 8:30 to 5:30 every day, and at the office.
Or these like, my mouse doesn't work, or my computer won't turn on.
My mouse doesn't work. My keyboard doesn't work, or I can't print this. Say, can you help me with this document, or other like processes
like
that we have.
Legit desktop support.
Yes. Yep. But it was one of those, like, at that moment, like, like my foot's in the door.
Right.
And that's all I cared about at that point. And since then, I've had several different positions along the way. Worked down the Daytona office. They transferred me up to Charlotte in 2013. I did the desktop support side of it for them for a couple of years, and then a position on the road opened up in the infield. And the guys liked me let me backtrack a little bit. When we used to have when there used to be triple header weekends where all 3 series would go out to be racing, the guys in the infield would ask for someone in the office to come and just help share the workload, for lack of better terms.
Right.
And then, and that'll allow them to get out, see the racetrack, get a little bit of travel in, make a little overtime as well, and just kind of see, hey, what goes on during a race weekend there. I did that a couple times, once in Dover, and then another time in Phoenix. And when another third position opened up on the infield a year later, they offered it to me.
What year was this? How many years into working at NASCAR?
2014 at that point.
Oh, so that's basically the video that I reposted today.
So since 2014, I been at essentially every Phoenix race, except for this past spring. I didn't go to that one.
Let's back up a little bit. So you said something kind of important, and I think it's a lesson, and I think it shows a difference, because our age difference, we're similar, but we still have a significant gap. But your mindset had to be strong and determined. Some of that could be that, right? That middle American Latino pride. But you said getting your foot in the door. And,
yes.
You have kids that are right around that age where nothing you say matters. It's got to come from someone else. I've been there with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know people who just want to jump in and go straight to the top. How important do you think that is? Do you see that? Because I think now you're in a position where you get to kind of vet the newbies that are coming in. Like, how ambitious do you see people, and how important do you think it is for people to have the mindset of just getting their foot in the door, or there's so many other opportunities out there, it just makes it difficult?
I think it's very important, and it's also, but you got to have the mindset of getting your foot in the door and putting the work behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew that I had a good advantage working at the roles that I did beforehand because anybody who called was somebody part of the company. So eventually, when I moved over to the track side, I'd finally meet them. They're like, "Oh, you've been the one that's been helping me for so many years," and they knew, "Hey, look, this guy was able. I had a problem. He was able to jump in and help me out." And that kind of springboarded me to, meeting even more people within the organization. You like almost had a reputation like, "Hey, this guy, if you tell him and you ask him to do something, he'll get it done for you."
People started
And
requesting you.
yep,
Can
and
you
it's
transfer my
still,
ticket to Jasser? Make sure Jasser gets this.
yep, or they'll wait, it's like I'll wait to see him at the track, or stuff like that. But I think it is a very important mindset to have, one, getting your foot in the door, but one, also two, putting the work behind it. That's something that you don't see a lot these days with the younger generation. Just like you said, they want to get in and go like straight to the top. And fortunately, it's very rare that that's the case.
Right. Like, I have someone in my circle, my very personal family circle, who this person would get a job, and within a month or within 2 weeks, they're applying for other better positions. It's like, look, you're in there. You got to work your way to the top, because there's probably a counter discussion for all of this, where
Mm-hmm.
there's always examples of people who didn't have to, but this person was
Correct.
always
Yeah.
ambitious, was always talking back to the superiors, even
Mm-hmm.
when they knew they were right and the superior was wrong. So they weren't playing that office politics card. Or it's like, I want to be employee of the month. I bust my ass. It's like, well, so does that person. Oh, well, they don't do
Yep.
this. I should be employee of the month. I'm quitting.
Yep.
So there's that, I think, misplaced ambition versus keeping your head down and just doing your job. Now, were you just always just doing your stuff, or were you like, Mr. Carter, is there any, I would like to handle some more stuff around here, or did it just come from reputation of people just constantly requesting you?
More from reputation, and then also too, like I wanted, like when I moved over to my current role a couple of years ago, it was one of those, hey, like, I love what I do, and I can do this forever. Like, what else can I do to be more beneficial to the group, but also want
Nice.
to improve my skills, right?
Nice.
So I can always, like, my thing is like I want to always be learning. And one of the great aspects of my job is that being out in the field, technology wise, we do a lot of refreshes and we try to stay current on technology within the organization, but also to any new technology that comes out, it's most of the time put out the track first. So you don't stay stagnant with things, and you're always learning something new. You're always trying to see where you can better in a lot of different aspects as well.
What is it about your personality and your approach do you think is the reason why you've managed to excel to get to the position you're at? Because we kind of joked about the IT. I do healthcare IT, but
Mhm.
I obviously, people who know me know that I have quite the personality. But what is it you think about yours that kind of differentiates you from other people? Because I'll be honest, meeting your coworkers are all pretty cool, but you can kind of look at someone and you're like, okay, you're the mad scientist, as you described one of the guys.
Mhm.
Your purpose in life is to make sure all this shit works.
Mhm.
Your purpose in life isn't to go out there and shake hands and do all that. You want to keep your head down and just stay in this trailer. And other people are made to walk around and say hi to everyone and make sure people are comfortable. What is it
Yeah,
about your personality that you think got you where you're at?
I think I fall somewhere possibly in the middle of that, where and I've been able to know and understand the technology and the geek side of it, but also use it, be the people person as well, but also be able to explain that to someone who's not technology based.
Yeah.
So as you know, a lot of the people that we met and all that, I've helped them out. They've needed things, but also be able to, hey, look, this is how this, kind of not dumb it down, but explain it to a level that they would understand what's going on
Sure.
and what they need and how we can get that to them. So I think that's one of my qualities.
For sure, dude. Because like whatever it is, because I've seen that, right? So we're sitting in the trailer,
Yep.
and I'm asking questions, and people are kind of pointing and telling me and showing me, and I'm sitting there thinking, if I didn't have any idea what I'm actually looking at, I would have no idea what I'm looking at based on what they're telling me. But I
Correct.
kind of
Yeah.
understand the language. But then when we're out and about on the infield, did I use that correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're walking around, and I'm watching you interact with crew members from racing teams and other personnel, other officials, and there's a true connection there. There's a brotherhood. I know you guys travel around together all the time, but not everybody has that connection. I mean, hey, how you doing? Good, but I mean, you're dapping people up, quick hugs, quick jokes, firm handshakes, and I could tell that like people know who Jasser is. You're not just someone who's been around. Like you're important to people.
Yeah.
And that's a skill set.
It is. And it's one of those, like, I usually never, not that I don't think about it, but it's also one of those, like, I don't boast about it. And
Sure.
I'm humble enough to know,
Honestly, that's why it happens. It's magic. I mean, it's just the natural ability to form those relationships, but be able to stay on task. And really, at the end of the day, you're an incredibly effective communicator to the super analog, borderline autistic thinking person, and also to the super loose, and network friendly and supreme expert person as well. Like you're able to kind of balance your way in between both of those. And I think that's why you are where you're at. Because again, I'm driving my car behind you and people look at you, you wave at them, and gates are opening for you.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it right here.
I know, and I like that reel you posted. Like, you can see me on the golf cart when you pulling in. And it's like the gates are opening to VIP level.
Yeah, for real, it was. That was cool. I kind of joked about it too because it's, I got the hard parking shirt on. I got the NSX with the hard parking stuff all over it. I got the parking pass, compliments of you. And so no one questions it anyway because I'm with you, and I just look like I'm supposed to be there in that car. It worked out great.
So what was your like biggest takeaway, seeing things, or the coolest thing that you saw at the track?
It wasn't the celebrities. It wasn't even finally getting to meet Mr. Mamba Smith because I put that on him, and he's cool. But I was there because of you, not because of Mamba. But it was really getting a real understanding. And like you said, there's a few things you weren't able to show me yet. But just all the stuff that goes into making an event like that work. It's a twofold answer. So there's that part, to be able to sit in the trailer, to be there with you so people knew that, I could ask questions and have people explain to me, super friendly staff, explain to me what it is they're looking at on their screen. And, that's, to me, that's the best access in the world. It's better than sitting up in some skybox and eating hot dogs and doing all that kind of stuff. Like that is an experience people just can't get. You literally have to bring your buddy to work day. And the buddy that brings you to work has to be somebody that has that level of access and that level of a sense of community with their coworkers. The other half of what made that day awesome was the diversity, man. Because I talked to Mamba about it last year because, a lot of people on the outside, we look at NASCAR and we're like, we still think it's just a redneck sport, and there's that big controversy. And was it Daytona? One of those places was like the last place to either finally take down the flag or maybe they still have it. But a lot of people think that's what NASCAR is. But when I'm walking around with you and riding around with you, there's just diversity from top to bottom, male, female, black, white, multicultural on the teams too. The fans, The fans were
Yep.
incredibly diverse, and it was cool to see.
Yeah, and you're not the only one that has said that. And it's one of those like that stigma is still there till you come to a track
Mm-hmm.
and and check it out. Um, and I've had a lot of friends and family that I've invited, and they never probably even watched a NASCAR race, and just go by hearsay, and they come out to the track and are just essentially overwhelmed and seeing the same exact things as far as diversity, seeing what technology goes in and just everything else that goes into a race weekends.
I'm not sure I saw one can of Bud Light or Budweiser the whole time I was there.
Oh, we didn't go into the camping section then.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I'm sure we saw it.
Yeah,
We
and
saw
that
Tent City.
yeah, and that's mind blowing in itself to see at that track.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think I even talked about that. So when we were standing at the top of the stands looking out over the RV parking, and you pointed out a structure,
Mm-hmm.
a structure that I don't know if it's always there or they just build it for the week. But do you want to tell the listeners what that structure is and why it's used?
Is it the Walmart
It
there?
is.
Yep. And I think that's built for the camping week. But it's a tent city mobile Walmart, and then we went inside of it, and it looks like you walk in the aisles like it's a regular Walmart. It has the rollback prices in there, the same exact font to using on the prices. You know, obviously in the campsite, everybody was walking out with beer, snacks, and
Sure.
all the goodies for a weekend. But they had all the essentials there that you needed.
Probably all the groceries, probably a third of the clothes, but just enough clothes for everyone. And they have to just be just
Yep.
filing through refreshments, waters, energy drinks, obviously beer.
Yep.
How many, you may not know the answer to this. I'm trying to use my memory here, my visual memory, but how many motorhome RVs do you think are out there?
Oh man. It's got to be the couple thousand, maybe easy, even more.
Have you seen Idiocracy?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so there's a scene in Idiocracy where they go to Costco, right? It's a silly movie. They just take the average Joe, which is Luke Wilson, and I forgot the girl's name, and they put him in a capsule because they wanted somebody who was so average no one would miss him if the experiment failed. So they wake up and it's just, I don't even know how far in the future it is, but basically people are dumb. People are really dumb, and they become the two smartest people in the world. But one of the dumb things about it is Starbucks has taken over and Costco has taken over. And there's a Costco that they show, and you can't see the end of Costco. And that's right. That's exactly what this RV and public parking situation looked like outside of Phoenix International Raceway, is it not?
I mean, it's one of those that unless you see it, you won't believe it. It's massive. I mean, as far as you can see, like I told you, when we were even up there.
Yeah, it disappears. And I don't know how many feet that is up there. It was hundreds of feet up, and you could not see the end of it. The parking disappeared into kind of the dusty horizon, I guess.
Yep. And I sent you a picture of it there too that I meant to send you earlier of the sky view of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the track, and as you zoom in, like, the track's a mile-long track, and then you just look and zoom out, and you can fit two to three tracks, complete tracks next to that area.
Wow.
Just to give it a size relation.
What's your favorite track?
I love Phoenix. Outside of just racing, I love the area as well. Like, we discussed that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can convince my wife to move to Phoenix, I'd move there in a heartbeat. I like Daytona as well. And then gotta say my three tracks that I'm over is Richmond, Martinsville, and Darlington. Three cool tracks, all have their different aspects of interesting. Martinsville's known as the paper clip. So it's a half-mile track, and then in the form of paperclip, short, old school short track racing. Darlington is one of the oldest tracks on the circuit. It's the Lady in Black, and it's just the way it's designed. It's a special type of racing. So it's fast, but it's also essentially technical as the,
Right.
when you race it. I've also had the S2000 on that one a few times.
Nice.
And then Richmond is just like a big little track, or a little big track, I should say. It had the track is there. It's for just under a mile, but it has an amphitheater. It has an expo center. It has different buildings, so there's always something going on. And that track does keep me busy quite a bit on the network side, but it just gives it character.
When you were out here a couple weeks ago, that was it for the season. So what do you do in your off time, and how long is your off time?
So after my off time outside, where I'm not traveling to a racetrack for a race weekend, is when was the race? November 6th.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to go back to a race weekend, either Rolex, which is end of January, or before we started going to LA for the Clash, it was just the beginning of February. So have a little bit of downtime at the house where you get to catch up on family events and family stuff. With my role now, we try to do and plan projects outside of when you can't complete them during a race weekend. So like next weekend, I'm going up to a couple of my tracks and, doing a walkthrough with the vendor that they want to come in and install some technology, and going to one of my other tracks to take care of some items that I didn't get to do during a weekend just because it was busy.
So you're still kind of working, but you're not having to travel for race week.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You and I know each other from the Acura and Honda world.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that's how most of my important connections in life and relationships are. They all start with cars. I would have never known this about you. I think you told me a while ago you worked in NASCAR, but that experience wouldn't have happened had we not known each other from the car world.
Well, then that's one of the things I was thinking about when you mentioned Phoenix, right? Like you were out there 7 years ago, right? I didn't have an NSX at the time. I had an S2000, but we probably even walked right by each other and never knew anything. And didn't know each other or anything like that until that car connection, connected back again.
Well, it's funny because one of the big differences between now and then, besides the obvious venue was completely different, is we may have potentially walked past each other, but you kept walking and I had to stay in that little Nico area or else we would have got kicked out.
Yep.
We didn't have the right credentials to be there. So let's talk about your cars that you have that you get to tinker with when you're not working.
So always been a Honda guy. So got 07 Laguna S2000 and then 91 Black Ivory NSX. And then I got to throw my daily, my Honda Fit in there.
What year's your Fit?
2010.
That's a cute little car, man.
Recently acquired car. I had a Civic before that for many, many years that my son unfortunately crashed and rolled it last year. So that's what prompted on getting the Fit. If not, I would have drove that Civic till it died.
He got it okay though.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was just one of those events, driving too fast for the conditions, and my other son was with them in the car, and luckily nothing happened to them. So just car was wrecked, and I could replace the car, not my kids. So
I have I was going to ask you a perception versus reality question, and I think the perception is NASCAR is full of rednecks, and the reality is it's very incredibly diverse. So instead, I'm going to pivot and ask you a couple more questions about your actual work and what you get to do. That seems kind of like a dream for most other people. How long did it take for you to get used to the fact that you're walking around with these household names? Like you walk right past, Jimmy Johnson or Jeff Gordon or, Kyle Busch or any of these guys. And I know I'm mixing eras here, but they were all there while you're there. And then the famous people, we ran to, Tiffany Haddish and Dion Cole. Are you ever, because I know you've taken photos of people, are you ever freaking out inside but not on the outside? Or are you just like, just another day? And at some point you had to have been freaking out, and now it's just another day at work.
I guess you get a little bit of both. Like before I started working, like I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR really never penetrated like inner city. And growing up, I knew the big names, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, all that stuff, and you'd hear the results on the news from big races if the 500 was going on or anything like that. But I never followed NASCAR growing up. And I didn't get an appreciation of what everything went into the sport till I started working for them and seeing it from the, inside out and meeting, like all the drivers and all the people within the different teams and organizations and stuff like that. But I don't think it's ever been something that, like, I don't take it for granted what I do. I'm very humble about it. But also it's one of those, like, it's it's a cool, like, hey, look, I love what I do and I get to go out and see all this on a weekly basis. So even though it's gotten to, hey, it's normal for me, like that, but it's also I appreciate it even more when I have, like you come out or, one of my other buddies come out and like, hey, looks like they see how outside of the norm this is. And it's a cool experience for them. And I get to do this on a weekly basis, like at the end of the day, I'm a geek, right? I'm a tech
Sure.
guy.
Yep.
And, that's not my role and my job is not the norm. So it is very cool in that aspect that I get to do it, but it's also like, man, I'm also very fortunate and humble that I do get to be out there and that they still keep me around and let me do what I do for the organization.
I tell you, man, I like I said before, I had a great time. I'm fortunate. I'm grateful that I have someone like you in my life that could reach out and be like, "Hey, Dan, I'm in town. What's up? You
Yeah.
want to do this?" Because I said on the last week's episode, I go, "Look, I got home. I didn't know what I was going to do. I read your message and I was like, shit, man, I am fucking beat." And
Mhm.
so, I took a nap and then woke up and said, "All right, let's do this." Because if for you to travel, and this is part of your job, right? But for
Yeah.
you to travel and to extend that offer, I think I could get up and drive an hour to hang out for a little bit. So I,
And
1,000% appreciate that.
I appreciate that you did.
Next time you're in town, I'll have to drive back out there and we'll have to have a Bud Light or whatever the official beer is that we're supposed to drink.
I'm a whiskey guy, so we can do it that way.
What do you like?
Let's see. What do I got on my? So
What do you got? What is okay? This is okay. This is my whiskey listeners, Wes and all them right now. They're all rubbing their hands. That was me rubbing my hands in the background. What does Jasser have on his shelf? What does he like to drink?
I don't keep a lot on hand just because kiddos.
Oh, trust me, I know they think they're slick, but they're not.
Yep. So like right now on my little shelves, I got just ran out of Woodfords, which
Okay.
that's my typical go-to. Got some proper 12s, some Jameson. But those two I just got from an Ireland trip I took. So
I was gonna say those are both
12,
Irish whiskeys.
Yeah. So the proper 12 came from Conor McGregor's bar.
Okay.
Right from behind the bar, and Jameson came out of the Jameson distillery. And then I bumped it up a little notch. I got a little bit of Blanton's there for special occasion or
Okay.
So that's what is on my little decanter set right now.
I like that. Not too much. And they're all you have two Irish whiskeys and two Americans there right there.
Yep.
Now, who do you fly? What airlines do you guys fly?
I fly American.
Oh, so is that where the Woodford comes in once you get to that status, and that's what you can get? Let me get some Woodford on the rocks.
You
and
can get some Woodford. I think Woodford started for me back in a few years ago. One of the guys, we were at the bar, and it was Embassy Suites, and he got Woodford, and I tried it and just got stuck on that. So there was a recommendation from one of the guys on the road.
It's not bad, man. It's not bad. All right, Jasser, thanks for taking the time to come on Hard Parking. And
no
it's
problem.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, man.
How can people should we social media creep you? How can people find you?
Yeah, they can do it. It's easy to find me, Jasser V, on my social media, which is I only have Instagram. It's open. I don't keep it private or anything like that, but it's mostly where I post my car stuff and some of the event stuff I do out and about. So
if you're in Phoenix, don't even hit him up because I'm his only friend in Phoenix. Okay, everybody else, stay away. I will fight you. I will fight you.
We'll do it up, man. Yeah, I got to convince wifey to come out there to
I'll
Phoenix.
fight her too.
That will do it up, man.
All right, Jasser.
Hey, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, Jay.
One of the things, Jasser, for being available to talk about, what he does for NASCAR. Hopefully you found that interesting. I know that you possibly would have zoned out. Just like when I talk about cars, some of you zone out. When you start talking technical IT stuff, and I don't think he was too technical, but when you start talking technical IT stuff, people just zone out too. So hopefully you guys are still with me. Yasu, I have an international stamp. I bought them. So just send me an email and I'll send you, I think, 2 coasters actually. The recent one and the holiday one. There's a Right Honda toy drive, there's a Right Toyota holiday drive coming up. And it's a drive, not a physical drive, but like a toy drive, right? You bring your toys and stuff like that. So that's coming up on December 10th. Fuel Fest is coming up on December 9th. Thank you to Josh Benjamin and Nadine of Throttle, THRODLE. We've had Josh on here before, but apparently my car is going to be a booth car at Fuel Fest. So that'll be kind of cool. One thing, Right Honda and Right Toyota, 4-wheel online, Cell Shop Wireless Services, Patreon business supporter, Kui Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owensville, Maryland, Pell Construction out of Caledonia, Michigan, Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan, Shaping Success with the West Anchorsley out of Boise, Idaho. If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, you can join the Patreon, or if you want extra, audio, more than join the Patreon. There's $0 a month to get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. Everything that I buy, whether it's coasters, new t-shirt designs, all that stuff gets sent to the Patreons, especially the personal Patreons. You business people, I'm kind of stingy because you get to write it off on your taxes, but sometimes I hook you up anyway. Unless you join for the first time, then you just get like the coasters and stuff. Shout out to Mark Stallman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alice Camino, and Drew Bunkley. Email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram @JFinney. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Let me know what you're eating. I'm curious. Call me, email me, whatever. I can't grow like telling the world how great the show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together. Oh, by the way, this is also episode 200. Talk to you guys next week.
Finally got around to trying that Arby's Wagyu burger. It was alright. I ain't like the little dressing shit they put on it.
Shut up!